Hey, what's happening? Happy Monday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early. It's 3:30 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, today's clip comes from PolitiZoom, left-leaning media site PolitiZoom. The link will be right down below, and it's about a video clip of Ted Nugent and his wife Shemaine. I believe it's from their blog or from Twitter. Okay, so the link will to the article and the video clip are right down below. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about this. I've done another video. I know, I met Ted Nugent. I got a history with Ted Nugent, and I can't stand the guy. I didn't like him back in the '80s. I didn't like him back in the '70s, and I can't freaking stand him now. And his wife Shemaine, honestly, I know this probably comes across sexist, but she sounds just like a ditzy blonde, and I can't believe her name is Shemaine. You know, back in the 70s and 80s, they talked about Ted Nugent and his mane of hair, his mane of wild hair. And he actually finds a woman, he actually marries a woman whose name is Shemaine, and she's got a long blonde mane. It's weird, man. All right, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. Okay, so Shemaine starts talking at the beginning of this clip, and she says she's even got her cute, quaint little podcast, thanks to her husband. And she says, this is what she says. This is what the article's kind of about. She says that women, you got to listen closely, because she says a couple women came up to her crying, thanking her for showing them the truth of the MAGA world, to bringing them into the light of the truth of Donald Trump. She didn't say the part about Donald Trump. But basically, she said, a couple women came up to her, tears in their eyes, thanking her for her podcast and her bringing them into the world of MAGA, of Donald Trump, and making America great again. Okay, so this article, basically, it takes her to task for this. The article basically calls her a big fat liar. I'll get into that in a second. I can't call her a liar. I don't, honestly, there's times I come on here and I tell you guys what happens to me. And, I get somebody in the comments saying, yeah, bullshit, bull crap. There's no way I could prove it happened, and nobody could prove it didn't. So I'm not going to sit here and say that it didn't happen. All right, and then Ted Nugent goes on. Ted Nugent says, she says, with help to my husband, Ted Nugent. And Ted, being the guy not to take credit, says that we genuflect at the, he actually says this, we genuflect at the altar of truth and the American way and the pillars of of our forefathers and the Constitution and the Ten Commandments and the Golden Rule. It's kind of weird, and that some people notice this. How he says that our founding fathers and the Ten Commandments, because like Thomas Jefferson, and the separation of church and state. Constitution had nothing to do with the freaking Ten Commandments. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, let me talk about this. So yeah, I did meet Ted Nugent. I saw Nugent about 4 times. And I saw Nugent a couple times, and I saw Damn Yankees. I actually I found the tour information from when I met him, from 1991. There'll be a link down below. They list Bristol right in my backyard, where Nugent played here, but that's not where I saw him. I saw him at the London, the Groton sub base in New London. I had a backstage pass, and I went backstage, and I believe they were playing with the Damn Yankees, and I'm almost positive it was a band called Steel Rodeo, a local band called Steel Rodeo. And this is what I saw when Ted Nugent finally made an appearance. I was backstage. They had all the tables set up with the food and liquor, and that's a big thing, and all that stuff. So we're walking around, and it's getting towards the end of the show, and I'm like, he's not going to show up. And he's on stage, and there's a cutout of Saddam Hussein. This is when he did this thing. You guys probably heard of it. And I'm watching this from the back of the stage now, from backstage. And I see the back of the cutout. I don't see Saddam's face because I'm on the back side of it, but I know I've heard he's doing this, and I see it come down. And then I see arrows pierce through the Saddam cutout. Remember when he did that? The theatrics of, when he took Saddam down with his... He actually did this on stage. He had his bow, and he shot a cutout of Saddam Hussein on stage. at this show. Okay, so the show's over, and I'm kind of giving up on any thought of actually meeting him. And all of a sudden, I hear screaming, yelling, and it's Ted Nugent. I look over, and he is dressing down. He's calling Steel Rodeo out on the carpet, and they're just standing there in shock. And he's yelling at them, and from what I can understand, he's yelling about the alcohol, the liquor, because he doesn't drink and he doesn't use. And he's blaming like Steel Rodeo for all this, and he's just blah 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 blah. To me, he just looks like a big scary bully. And then, much to my dismay, he turns and he walks straight towards me. I'm like on a catwalk coming off the side of the stage, and he walks up to me, and we could barely cross each other on the catwalk. I remember him chewing gum like a horse, and he's like, "How'd you like the show?" And I didn't say a word, man. I just stood there. I just kind of nodded. I'll be honest with you guys. He was an imposing force. I'm 6'4". I had my leather on, my black leather and everything on, and I didn't say boo to him. I didn't. But then again, I was probably high AF too. All right, so. And then I remember back in the 80s, especially back in the late 70s, when I first started going to concerts, there was this thing about open seating, general admission they called it. And Nugent was one, along with Molly Hatchet and a few other bands, had general admission seating, and people would get trampled and hurt at these concerts. And usually at these same concerts, people would throw M80s, and there was all sorts of. It was like Vietnam or something at these concerts. And this is before I actually started going to concerts. And Ted Nugent was one of these bands that was infamous for this kind of behavior at his concert. Okay, so Shemaine now talking about women coming up to her and tearing about the First of all, like the article said, you got to listen closely to what she says. She's not saying that all these women came up to her. She says a couple women. To me, that's two. Back when I was using, I've told you guys this. I lied and manipulated that was all I did. I lied to myself. I didn't even know the truth from a lie. I did this every day just to get my fix all throughout the day. It was money and drugs, lying, manipulation. That's all it was. And part of my lying was like, I remember mixing in a little truth. You guys know that theory, where you mix in, I take something that happened 2 years ago and I mix it with something that happened a year ago and I exaggerate it and ball it all together and throw it out there as the truth. I used to do that a lot. I remember one instance where I made up this thing about getting mugged with my whole paycheck, so I had to borrow money. And, I got it from an article in a newspaper, and I had gotten mugged like 3 years before when I was a young teenager. It's taken bits and pieces. So that's what I think Shemaine might be doing here. But then again, I just read an article about an actual video back at a Trump rally. It was about a month ago. And this woman was actually saying how she started crying when she heard about the FBI raid at Mar-a-Lago. She broke down and she cried all day. So, do I think that, maybe a couple of women approached her and one of them started crying, talking about Donald Trump and the FBI and the deep state, and thank you for saving us from the deep state and CRT and blah blah blah. Do I think that could have happened? Hell yeah. Especially where do they live? In the backwoods up in Wyoming, East Butt. You know what I'm going to say. I could easily see that happening. I don't doubt for a second that this happened. The funny thing, though, that when she defers to her husband, he talks about genuflecting at the pillars of truth. Is that the same truth? He's one of those guys that talked about how Trump won the election, how it was stolen for the YouTube algorithms. The election was not stolen. I don't believe that for 1 second. He's also one of those ones that talked about Ashley Babbitt, how she was just some innocent girl climbing through a window, going to hang the vice president. I know he talked. Is that the truth that he's genuflecting in front of, or what about when back in 2016? I remember he actually threatened Hillary Clinton with talking about doing some serious damage to Hillary Clinton with one of his favorite toys. Is that the truth? Is that the pillar of truth? Or is it just Truth Social that he's genuflecting in front of? I don't know. I can't stand him. I think he's an arrogant narcissist. I know he's an arrogant narcissist. I've met him. And I could see him and Donald Trump like peas in a pod. All right, you guys check out the video. Ted Nugent's an ass. His wife is a ditzy blonde. That's all I got to say for today. You guys have a good Monday.